Okay, so today I'm going to talk about healthy male energy and how incredibly vital it is to our existence. I want to, with this video, clarify what I personally mean by male energy because I talk about it a lot. So if you follow my work, I want you to have the proper definition of how I'm using that term. And first, I'll say that we are androgynous beings and we have both male and female energy. And even though we are exiting a paradigm of unhealthy male energy, unconscious male energy, the patriarchy, right? Ignoring intuition, ignoring the feeling nature, having a colder mental approach to life to the exclusion of the feeling, right? The mind working apart from the heart, leading without heart, right? All of that is coming to an end. And I'll say what is also coming to an end is living an unconscious female energy, which is being identified solely with sensation and being lost in sensation, being a martyr, right? We're coming out of an age of a very low octave of both male and female energy. And so the reason why I want to focus today on male energy is because it has kind of a bad rep, partly because the term male energy is being used in many ways, and depending on the person who's using the term, they mean probably something very different from what I mean or from what other people mean. So male energy, right? We have male and female energy, and our female energy is our compassion, our intuition, our feeling nature, our nurturing qualities, the mother nature, the unconditional lover, the embracer, right? It's like female energy is like this, like kind of like a room that just holds everything in the space exactly as it is, right? Whereas male energy is awareness, wisdom, understanding, discernment. And we cannot have a healthy male energy without healthy female energy, and we can't have healthy female energy without healthy male energy. Because if you have only love and compassion without intention, decision, discernment, then you could get lost in you could kind of not move forward, right? Because, and how often, I'll give you a real life example of that. If you're in an abusive relationship, an abusive partnership, business partnership, friendship, and you have unconditional love for that person, yet you're still in the situation, right? Your healthy male energy is not online because you have not moved forward past that situation. You have not made a healthy choice, right? That healthy protector energy to place yourself in a place of more well-being. You know, it's like self-respect, right? So if we have compassion at the exclusion of awareness, discernment, decision, and intention, right? What happens very often is that people stay in situations that are harmful to them. And so one of the divine male qualities is the protector. And in a lower octave, right, it could be a warrior that wants to rape and pillage, but in the higher octave, right, it's the protector. It's the ability to stand up for myself, the ability to stand up for my values, right, with love. When it's coupled with the female energy, we do this with love, right? So they need each other. So, and the male needs the love of the female, right? Without discernment and intention, without compassion, is victory-oriented consciousness, is future-oriented consciousness, is result-oriented consciousness that is often unaware of the environment, unaware of the people in your life, unaware of the state of your body, the state of your emotions, of what is real and authentic to you, right? You are cut off from reality because you have cut yourself off from the whole, because you want to accomplish something, right? So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories to illustrate how important it is to cultivate and certainly to not put in the shadow healthy male energy. Healthy male energy, in the ways that I've just described, are vital to our existence, and they are not the same thing as the patriarchy, as a male approach to healing. In my opinion and in my experience, right, Zen, for example, is a very male modality. It's very awareness-based, stillness, right? Which is a divine male quality, but without love, right? Without love, there's like a quality missing in it for me. Maybe not for other people who practice Zen, but for me, it was too cold and too male for me. And so we have to have that inner discernment to decide which is a healthy male quality, that inner discernment to know like what's right for me and what's not right for me, no matter what, a scripture says or what an authority says. To be my own authority is healthy male energy, right? Which is, of course, so vital to our existence. So in the healing process of integrating, bringing the parts of ourselves back into our hearts, there are different qualities that we may need on different days, at different times, different medicinal frequencies, qualities, experiences. And while unconditional love is a given, right? If we don't have unconditional love for ourselves, then we will, the parts of ourselves that have been abandoned, disowned, bullied, etc., they need a real experience of love, because they don't know that love is real, because they've been pushed aside, which is not what love does. Love doesn't push anything away. It brings into the heart. It makes it a part of myself. So unconditional love, to see the parts of ourselves, right? The unpleasant parts, the pleasant parts, right? The parts of ourselves that can be deceptive, that can be manipulative, which at one point may have been a survival strategy as a child, but now as an adult, it's no longer needed, right? And we do have the ability and the awareness and the intention and the power, right? Another aspect of healthy male energy is empowerment and sovereignty, right? To stop lying to ourselves and saying, I have no power over anything in my life. My survival brain will do whatever it does. My karma is just going to play out. Like, no, maybe your karma is to step into yourself and start to make decisions. Like, I will start telling the truth to myself and to others. I will start setting more intentions. Like, instead of having every day be very floaty and random, right? Hone in on what's important to me and focus my mind, right? Which is a healthy male quality. So unconditional love is a given, right? But some parts of our mind, and I work with the subconscious mind, I help people heal their minds, right? This is my specialty. This is what I do as my service, both through the content that I offer and through a channeled modality that I do, where I basically channel psychologists and I go into the subconscious mind, and the person that I'm working with visualizes and sees for themselves the parts of their mind that are playing out in their life. And what I have seen over and over, and you can do this in your own experience, if you personify a part of the mind that's playing out, maybe a part of you is lashing out all the time, maybe a part of you is feels stuck in an addictive pattern. Personify it and put it in your mind's eye and ask it, like, what do you need? And what I have found in myself and in others is that in addition to unconditional love, what is often needed is understanding. So I'm going to tell you a story about a child that I knew a while ago, and I'm gonna kind of, I like to give stories to illustrate these concepts, right? Because it makes it more real. So this is going to illustrate how we need understanding, right? Not just, which is a healthy male quality, wisdom, understanding, firmness sometimes, right? Intention. We need a certain strength, a certain focus, which is healthy male energy. So this kid that I knew, he is a beautiful human being. Funny, hilarious, brilliant, musical, theatrical, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful child. But he had this habit of basically kicking his dad in the balls. And that sounds intense, and it was intense. And what was happening was he was picking up on rage in his environment and he's so sensitive, he did not know how to modulate that energy, and he discharged it in a state that felt like he was out of control, and he would take it out on his father and other people, other males, not just his father. So his mother, who is an amazing woman and just an incredible inspiration of a human being, she's a very loving woman, and she, you know, her approach at first was like just unconditional love, unconditional love, unconditional love. Hold him, you know, ask him if he's hurting, right? It's just this loving kind of motherly approach, which is so essential. And it would soothe him, right? What are you feeling? Let me hold you. Let me help you. You know, what do you need from me, right? And the child, being very young, doesn't know how to vocalize like what he needs. So her unconditional love soothed him, but the behavior continued, and it continued to deteriorate situations in his life, because he would have this quite severe behavior in class and with friends and at events and so on. And so what he needed, and what his mother finally realized, is like, no, even though I want to be a perfect spiritual person and just unconditionally love this boy, what he actually needs is some firmness. He needs to understand that his actions are extremely painful to others, right? It's very painful. It can be very damaging to strike somebody in that way. And he needed to understand that, and he needed help understanding what was going on in him, right? What's going on in my body? What's going on? Why do I feel all of this revved up adrenaline energy? I need to understand this, because the lack of understanding can make a person feel very chaotic. And so in his case, the medicine that he required was understanding and firmness. So think about your inner 7-year-old. Think about your inner 7-year-old that maybe when you have a drink, right, you tell nasty jokes about someone in your family or with your colleagues, and the jokes are very harmful and hurtful and maybe embarrassing to people. And as long as you hold on to the excuse, oh, well, this is just how I cope with energy that I don't know how to modulate, beliefs about myself that I don't know how to process, as long as you cling to that belief, you are not free, right? So when I talk about healthy male energy, to be radically honest and say, hey, I know that I'm behaving in a way that isn't aligned with love. And so it's love, right? Healthy female, and intention, healthy male, to say, okay, how can I lovingly address this? What am I avoiding? How can I go into my heart and listen to myself and ask myself what I need? What am I avoiding that is ultimately causing me to project unkindness into my experience, into my family life, into my work life, right? So it's a combination of love, right? Not judgment, but love and firmness. Like, okay, let's get to the bottom of this. Enough is enough already. I've burned enough bridges. I've hurt enough people. Like, let me get to the bottom of this. And of course, right, if you don't have the component of love, this male energy can feel cold and harsh. So when some people are afraid of the male approach to healing, I don't blame that. An exclusively male approach can't really work, because love is the universal healer, right? You need love, but parts of the mind need a combination of love and perhaps logic, right? For that child, to help him understand, okay, you're very sensitive, and you have a nervous system, and you're picking up energy in your environment, and you're feeling it in your body, and you don't know what to do with it. So you're not wrong. It's okay. You're safe. Nothing has gone wrong, right? This is just how the body, how the nervous system, how the mind works. So I'm going to teach you how to modulate your energy. Go on outside of the trampoline. Write a letter to one of your parents if they've upset you, right? Have a conversation about something that angers you, right? Say it out loud. Scream, right? Paint, like get all your paints out and just slap something onto a canvas. Let your energy out, right? Some people really genuinely don't have a kind of diffusive valve, that energy really seriously builds up in their system. And so if they haven't received the education of how to diffuse it, how to modulate it, it can build momentum and turn into very unpleasant behavior, and oftentimes severe addiction, right? So we need the combination of love and discernment and wisdom and divine logic, right? And the inner discernment to be honest with myself, to be willing to look at myself, right? The willingness to look at something head on with love, in the container of love. So when I'm learning to feel my emotions, right, I put myself in a loving, safe energy, and I can begin to, with curiosity, right, go into those sensations and realize that those sensations are all I have ever been avoiding. I'm not avoiding death even. I'm not avoiding a diagnosis. I'm not avoiding going bankrupt. I'm actually avoiding panic, fear. I'm avoiding psychic tension that if I will relax enough into, I can learn how to self-source and to modulate my energy and free myself right now. And that requires a combination of unconditional love and the male qualities of decision. I will sit down and do this today. If I am feeling an intense internal storm, I will sit down, maybe in nature to help me feel safe, maybe under a tree, maybe I will play soothing music, maybe I will do something that makes me comfortable. But it's like what Jesus used to do. He used to sit under a tree during every internal storm, and he would feel it out. He would modulate his energy. He would free his energy. He would not escape. And that takes, granted, that takes a certain level of consciousness, but to tell yourself that you're not there yet, right? To believe that you can't do it is just a belief. And so start wherever you are and try. So another interesting thing that I find so synchronistic, because this has been on my mind about, I really want to energize, let's keep healthy male out of the closet, out of the shadow. Yes, the unhealthy male qualities of our civilization are in fact very destructive, and using your mind at the exclusion of your heart is harsh, cold, and destructive to yourself and to all of life, right? However, male energy has higher octaves, and it's very important that we acknowledge this. The Christ consciousness is not possible without a balance of these energies, because they literally physically need each other. The female needs to know that the male will provide stability, and the male needs to know that she will love him. It's a symbiotic relationship, and that makes it possible to go beyond the opposites. So I heard something interesting. I think her name is Jean Slatter. I don't really know. I was watching Gaia, and I hadn't watched anything in a while. I've been basically in silence, like kind of just being with myself for the past 2 weeks. But I turned on Gaia and I put on the show, and there was this interview, and this woman is talking about the energetics of allergies. And she said that a food allergy, and this woman is well known in this field and she's well respected, and she said that when it comes to something like a gluten allergy, what's missing in the body is an enzyme. And what that is a reflection of is a missing of understanding, right? Because, and she gave an example that actually applied perfectly to my life, which I'll tell you right now. She told the example of a family friend of hers who had been exposed to a pathological liar, and that woman had never seen that before. She had never dealt with that kind of pattern, that kind of behavior. It was totally foreign to her, and so she had no idea how to metabolize it, which is something that I experienced. I experienced something so severe and like out of the range of normal of what I've ever seen, even in movies, that I did not know how to digest it. Fortunately, I did not develop any food allergies, but it was interesting that she said the medicine that the mind needs in that case is understanding. So the woman needed to understand, right? Okay, this is what's happening. I know you've never seen this before, but this is what is happening. Okay, so the healthy male comes online. So I have I'm able to, okay, become aware, understand, reason this in myself. Because trust me, I know from experience that we can be exposed to something so so intense that it can really throw us out of balance, because you don't know what to do with it. You've never seen this before. You didn't know this existed before, right? It's a very unpleasant kind of unknown. So she was saying how, okay, this woman had to bring her understanding online, right? So not only her love, right? If she just loved herself and loved herself and loved herself, right? And I know this again from experience, she would not have been able to metabolize the experience that she had. She needed understanding. And some people say, like, we don't need understanding. You can't really understand something. Like, yes, you can. In a relative way, you can. And it might very well be very important depending on what's occurring in the person's life. So the medicine that she needed, that missing enzyme in her gut, right, in her pancreas, was an understanding. Right? And the healthy male in us is what makes understanding available to us. Because one of the divine male qualities is wisdom, discernment, wisdom, understanding, the ability, divine logic, streams of logic. How often has somebody shared a stream of logic with you and it has helped you finally understand something? I remember when I realized within myself that the root cause of so much of my dissociating from my body and all of the behaviors that would domino from there had to do with me lying to myself, me gaslighting myself. To finally understand that, to have the healthy male quality to like receive that understanding, metabolize that understanding, and implement that understanding by no longer lying to myself, by zeroing in on reality as it relates to me personally and honoring that reality. That male quality saved my life. Literally saved my life. And so that's why I talk so passionately about discernment and wisdom. And as I've said many times, some people come in with having mastered or having more familiar to them certain qualities, certain divine qualities. And therefore, different people require the development of different qualities. And the ascended masters, right, they talk about these things all the time, that sometimes a lifetime could be dedicated just to developing a quality, right? If you have lived many lifetimes leaning only in love and compassion, and therefore in many relational situations, you might remain in a state of inaction and naivete, right? If you stay in love and compassion and your psyche tends to fracture and go into inaction, and so you see that you're in a very abusive relationship, but you remember that spiritual teaching of unconditional love, and there you are again in that fog of inaction, right? Not leaving the situation. So what you need is the healthy male to say, hey, what are my fears about this? Let me take action. Let me get back in my body. Let me acknowledge what is, and let me take an appropriate action, and let me inquire as to how I created this. And sometimes inquiring into that is not really necessary, but in very big episodes in your life, you might want to garner the gem of that experience by understanding what it was about. So in a nutshell, both male and female energies have divine octaves, and they have unconscious octaves, as I've spoken about in other videos. Female energy is not all love and compassion. Female energy can also be being stuck in inaction because there is such an identification with sensation. So fog, panic, overwhelm, right? It's like being in a fog or a tank or a pool of water where you are stuck in an environment of sensation, and so you can't take action. It's taking up all of your awareness, that you're so confused, you're so, right? So in the case that happened with me, where I experienced an impact with a person in my life that was very shocking, I was in shock for a long time, which was an appropriate response for my nervous system. But over time, that remaining in shock, it started to feel very draining and disorienting because I couldn't get myself out of it because I had not yet developed my healthy male qualities, which is why I speak about this. Understanding divine male is a part of our survival as a species. Because if we don't understand discernment and that it is very different from judgment, then we will continue to make unconscious decisions about who we trust with our children, about who we trust with our parents, about who we trust with our money. And it's like, that's not necessary because we can evolve through joy, and that requires wisdom, not only love, but the combination of love and wisdom. They need each other. It's coherence, because we're not just love. We are a mind made of love. We are a mind made of love. That is what the universe is. The mind of God is a mind made of love. And if we learn to develop the higher qualities of both, they become one. And they work together. And so therefore, we can progress through life with more joy, with more ease, with more intelligence.